Alright folks, my name is Freyn and today we have some footage from the Centurion Mk.10. It's a British 7.0 medium tank, and for the first of these two clips I've got today I am on Advance to the Rhine. We're tucked in around one of my regular sort of comfort zone spots near the A point, just sitting, trying to cover anything that might be pushing around the cap, get a shot onto anything driving through the middle, and I've got a bit of cover to hide behind here. It's not great, but it's one of the spots I found to be most consistent for me in recent months. We're not very far into the game, but the majority of my team is in this western side of the map. We seem to be taking good control over it, so I figured I'd start pushing up, maybe see if I can get a bit of flanking or a bit of control in the centre. And then I see this Panther 2 ahead of me, so we're going to tuck back in, prepare for him to come out. And instead we end up with an IS-6 who somehow died in one shot. It was a kind of panic shot there, a very quick snap, no real aim in it, just trying to go for that lower side. Hit a bit higher than intended, but he blew up, so I'm not going to complain too much. The Panther 2 I was originally waiting for never actually showed up and has died to someone else. So I'm thinking it's clear. Everything I know is there is clear, and I'm gonna go back to my original decision of moving up. Gotta take it nice and steady. Don't want to rush in. This isn't the most mobile of tanks, especially not on the turning front. Reasonable turn of speed once you get the acceleration going, but certainly it's not what I would say is its strongest suit. So we're just going to drive into the centre, try and keep some cover around me at all time, narrow the angles, reduce the places I can get shot from, and just take the game one step at a time. APDS is not something I want to rely on for kills, so if I can get into a position where the enemy isn't already looking at me, and I can take my time over things a bit more, then I can maybe get a bit more performance out of it. But first, we do need to find a target, so let's go forwards. Remember the green cross code, look left and right. We have just lost an ally down that end, so try and peek for him when hear an engine to the front. And the Type 60 is very small, I can't hit it over this window properly, and I'm reluctant to get in front of his gun, so we swap to Hesh, the intent being to simply try and take him out with sheer explosive force from above. Unfortunately the plane seems to have slightly different ideas on what I'm allowed to do, and has taken out my tracks and some of my fuel at the back. Not that we need that. Who ever heard of a tank needing fuel, right? Now, the engine smoke is still there, so the Type 60 is still there. He can pen me, he can kill me, and he's got two recoilless rifles that can fire in quick succession. So if I try and push into him, it's not necessarily going to go very well for me, even if I am the bigger machine. So let's just back off and drop artillery, leave him to that. He's got very light armour. It didn't turn out to actually be needed. It's got a narrow vision on him there, and it's enough for the Hesh on something that lightly armoured. Now let's see if we can maybe get down and deal with what was actually at the C point initially, what we were going for when we got distracted. But the map's looking good, although very different to the start of the game, and there is something headed this way. There was just a bit of movement visible over the top of this wall, so we're going to wait for him to turn up, see what he is, and shoot, just trying to line up as many of the crew as I can, but mainly the gunner. Been fairly lucky with ammo rack explosions today, a lot more than I would normally expect from this round actually. It's become a bit of a joke at this stage how many ammo racks you can pen without getting a detonation. But this game, everything just seems to be working. The stars are aligning and I'm managing to get a lot of one-shots. But they're capping A, so I can't dwell on that for too long. I'm just going to see if he's on the north side. Maybe I can get a shot. There we go, PT-76 down. It wasn't really the smartest place to turn around right in the middle of the road like that. If there was something over there and he was looking this way, that might have spelled my doom there. I should have really driven forwards a bit and turned around in the safety of the buildings. It's now Tiger 2. He is looking this way. I completely scuffed my first shot there, thankfully so did he. And he's a bit low on crew, so one round to the turret front was enough. You can see in the hit cam though just how narrow the spalling cone is on the APDS. It's not really going to be tearing apart the insides of vehicles. You've got to be fairly precise, although I'll say this was a very unusual game for its performance. It really took me by surprise. But we're retaking A and everything is looking good. We've cleared out that eastern side, we've cleared out the western side. I've managed to lend a hand here and there. I've been fairly involved this game. I think I've had just about the right mix of aggression and caution. I've been pushing for targets, I've been pushing for the control, but without just, holding W and mindlessly charging into my death. But just on the left there we can see a little truck on the rubble. It's a BTR, so I'll pop out, go for the engine for the hull brake, just take him down in one. He's not a threat in that there are quite a few AA that are a threat to this around the sides, but the BTR isn't one of them. Probably Russia's best lower tier anti-aircraft, probably the best anti-aircraft vehicle they have until you reach the ZSU-23. But certainly not as capable against tanks as a lot of the Russian AA are. Now we don't want to go in too close to their spawn. You get marked on the map for one thing, there could be anything lurking around. We already know there is a Tiger 2P around there somewhere, so I'm just going to hold here for now. If anything chooses to drive out and try and claw the game back, I can take care of it. I've got some cover to keep me safe. The advantage is mine in this situation, so there's no need to push forwards. Of course, not that this means I won't push forwards. It's not always a smart decision, but sometimes you just don't make smart decisions. Even at the end of a decent game where you've been, been playing well, doesn't mean it always ends the same way. So we've got players closing in on their spawn, and I've at this stage, decided I want a piece of that action too. If there's going to be kills in there, I want to get involved. Camera's a little restricted by this wall, so that could have ended nastily there if there was someone tucked around that corner. Cannon barrel ahead. There's the Tiger 2P we've been looking for. And somehow we managed to pick up a one shot. Again, I don't know what it was this game, but it just wanted to work. It's not a performance I've had from APDS very often, but everything just clicked. And we managed to pick up a nice 8-kill game. Not something I've seen too often these days in this tank. But that is the end of the first game, and we are now on to Stalingrad. Again, I've come out towards a sort of comfort zone spot for me over at the sea point. Little hill here where I can stay, hold down, I can use my gun depression. I'm not completely hidden as this is a large tank. If the enemy sees me, they can shoot me back. But there's quite frequently enemies crossing these tracks here trying to get to sea. One shot on the 10.5. A little too high on the Panther, and that's more the APDS damage I'm used to there. Absolutely nothing. He's popped smoke. And although I didn't damage him, I'm expecting that he's trying to use the smoke less as a way to sort of to cover himself from further attack and more as a veil for trying to push forwards, trying to get a better position. You often find people pop smoke and then drive out of it, sort of almost straight away, just out of where they think your eye line is. So I stayed put for that, just to make sure he wasn't doing it. And turns out he's not there anymore. He didn't drive at me, he obviously used it to back off. There's no real right or wrong way to approach that, in my opinion. Certainly it will vary entirely in every situation. But in the meantime, we've lost the sea point, and there is a tank destroyer being tagged up behind that building. He's been set on fire, and I know the Panther 2's still got to be around somewhere, so I've got two opponents and who knows what else in the background. I'm alone here, I don't want to push up. I have to have patience, I have to sit and wait. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm just biding my time. Probably better if I don't continually move around. It's giving me different viewpoints, certainly, rather than just keeping my camera permanently locked in one place. But it is also giving an engine sound. It's making a more obvious target. I should really just sit still and wait.
Attention to the designated grid square.
There's the Panther 2. Again, not a great hit. 2 crew members. Not significant enough damage to allow me to push over there and attack him. Especially with the knowledge that there's still a tank destroyer behind that building as well. There he goes, Jagdpanzer 4-5. So take him down, and then let's just hide behind this building. I've rotated my tank a bit to make it a bit less visible. Wait and see if this Panther 2 reappears. He has to go at some time, and in the meantime we've got the rest of the map, so I don't need to move. It would have been nice to get the Panther behind me, but yeah. I think making sure this Panther 2 doesn't flank around the rest of our team is probably the better use of my vehicle right now, instead of going chasing the Panther. But patience is not one of my strongest suits when it comes to this game. I know I have to sit places quite often, and I will sit and wait as long as I have targets, but sooner or later I just get bored. Unfortunately, it seems the Panther chose the same moment to push forwards. I managed to finish him off. But that could have gone a whole lot differently. Frequently I will find myself hitting sort of the corner at the exact moment the enemy does, and it's, damn it, they've seen me. If I'd just been 30 seconds later or 30 seconds earlier, I might have got away with it. That sort of perfectly wrong timing. Matters of patience aside though, I've decided not to push into C, even if I think it's clear. There's a good chance there's still something lurking in the background, and we don't need it to win, so I'm just going to come over and help secure B and A, sorry, dealing with that Panther who's now been taken out. And thankfully this Cougar Blitz did not notice me making that manoeuvre, as I had no clue he was there. And again, had I moved for the C point, not knowing he was there, he would have been able to just take me out through the side. The Cougar Blitz is more than capable of doing that. So, whether an informed decision or not, it ended up being the right call to abandon the C point. I'm not quite so confident it's the right call for the rest of my team to swarm towards it. We seem to have abandoned the rest of the map, which is never really a good thing, especially as there seems to be a tank marked up near our spawn on the map that could easily go back and retake the A point or B point behind us. Somebody seems to have noticed something over there, so again, probably a good job I didn't push the C point when I took out that Panther 2, as there was more than just a Cougar Blitz waiting for me. Tiger 2H with ammo in his turret. never good. You don't want to bring full ammo in your Tiger 2s. That turret ammo rack is an absolute death sentence. Even the rather terrible APDS managed to take it out in one round. It's been a very weird day with this gun. Certainly just not something I find happens very often. These shells actually working. You can see that in the STB and the M60 videos recently. It doesn't get the job done. So these games were very much a shock. Now, there are players pushing back into the map on the north and the west side, and our entire team seems to be looping around from C towards their spawn. We've just kind of trained across the map, collecting more and more of our players as they went and just dragging them with them. Big magnet sucking everything in as it drove past, and now there's only me and one other person sort of making any attempt to really hold down the map. We've got someone coming over here, marked up by Allied spotting. Don't know what he is. And that looks to be a Coelian just driving in behind him. They thankfully don't know I'm here. So, shoot for the side of the Panther. Very poor shot, it went straight between all the crew. Partly that's still APDS, rather lackluster spalling, but it wasn't a good shot anyway. There's no crew in that area of the tank. If he doesn't have a lot of ammo, which in this case he doesn't, it's not going to cause any real damage. But he is down. You can see the Coelian going for the B point, so let's start putting some hurt into him. It's unlikely they're going to win at this stage, unless they've got something pushing up to the A point as well, and this Coelian somehow fends us all off. I don't think they're likely to be pulling this one back. Double check this flank again as driving across the road. As I said, green cross code. Yeah, check left, check right, although in this case I only check left because if there is anything on the right, we've got far bigger problems than me not checking it. I'll take out that Coelian and pretty much end this game at that note. It's a very very weird day with the Centurion, this one. But it led to two fairly satisfying games. Nothing exceptional, nothing crazy good in plays. I wasn't duking out and fending off multiple opponents at once with fantastic gunnery, but there were some satisfying games, and that's all I can really ask for at the end of it. And with that, that's me done for another video. So as usual, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed, and I will see you next time.